Cave Digger. Is it good? No. Cave Digger is a game that lets you become a miner. To begin with, you start in a small elevator where you go down 3 levels. Each level gives you an allotted time in which you can excavate gems, artifacts, and oil. A good thing about this game is you have to use certain tools for each different item you're mining. A pickaxe for gems, a saw for artifacts, a drill and bucket for oil. This stops the game from being too tedious, as you're not just hacking at everything. You need to change your approach depending on what you're trying to mine. Using the wrong tool will cause the item to break and become worthless. Unfortunately, how you store the tools around your hip is very inconvenient, as anytime I would try to pick up a gem around me, it would often pick up one of my tools. So for the most part, I ended up just throwing my tools on the ground whenever I wasn't using them. Fortunately, you don't stay in the elevator shaft too long, as there's lots to mine once you leave the saloon that you start in. Once outside, you'll find a small town. It's a very lonely town, as you're the only person in it. Also, you can't go into any of the other buildings, despite being able to upgrade them. There's a shop that sells upgrades, but none of them tell you exactly what they do, and some of them don't actually do anything. Even the very last upgrade, I mined for an extra 2 hours just to get the final upgrade, only to find out it didn't do anything. This was disappointing. That said, I didn't want to play the game anymore at that point, so it was doing me a favour. Outside, you can purchase a train, which will go deep into a cave. This is where you can do more mining. You'll find many obstacles that your train will have to overcome by getting more upgrades for the train and tracks. You have to deposit treasures on the train, but there's a handy little animated treasure chest pet that follows you around. You can use this guy to save yourself from walking back to the train. Unfortunately for me, most of the time he would just run off. Often he'd be nowhere to be found, and even when he was around, he would often move at the last second when I would throw items at him, which was very frustrating. So in the end, most of the time I just ended up walking back to the train to save myself the bother. Graphically, this game has to be one of the worst looking games I've seen on the Meta Quest 2. Everything is foggy and ugly to look at. The fog does look better when you're in a dark cave, but that's only because it's dark. The game was very glitchy. I had lots of issues, from gems falling through the ground, constantly getting stuck on walls, sometimes not getting paid because the deposit machine would refuse to accept my mined items, and many more annoyances. The soundtrack was just okay, but it was a little overbearing at times, and there's no way to turn it down in the settings. The game does have a good sense of humour, delivered by a guy on a radio that gives updates at what's going on in the world, which was quite nice and sometimes funny. That was Cave Digger, and I give it a 4 out of 10.